Welcome to the Movies of the Dam podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here with my friend and published horror author John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter at Damn Movies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published books, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Neil Marshall's 2002 horror film, Dog Soldiers. A squad of British soldiers is dropped into the Scottish Highlands for a training exercise, but soon learn that they are actually bait in the government's plan to capture a werewolf. The squad must then fight off a pack of werewolves as they attempt to survive until sunrise. They eventually barricade themselves in a secluded house, but are slowly picked off one by one. In the end, only soldier Cooper and a local dog survives, with the rest of the squad perishing. John, before we get your opening thoughts on the movie here, just want to let everyone know that obviously we sound a little bit different this week. And that has to do with everything going on with COVID-19 and the fact that we're trying to be responsible and engage in physical distancing. And I'm calling in over Skype, so my voice might sound a little bit different. And unfortunately, it's going to be the way it is until everything gets back to normal. But we thought better to do an episode like this than to not put an episode out there.
Show must go
John?
on.
Yeah, show must go on. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, so I suggested this movie this time, did I not?
Yeah, you did. We kind of were looking at which two we were gonna look at, and you're like, "Oh, let's check out Dog Soldiers." And I'm like, "Well, where is it?" You're like, "Shudder." I'm like, "I'm in."
Yeah. So it's like I had seen it a long time ago, or I saw it a long time ago, and
Really, I'd never heard of this before.
yeah. So I heard of I like creature features. I think they're a lot of fun, and but when I watched this a long time ago, I didn't see the problems that I see today. But I still had a great time watching it. Like, it's a lot of fun for me, anyways. I really enjoy creature features. I don't think I've ever experienced a really scary creature feature, like one where I was actually scared the whole time. But and it certainly wasn't the case with this one. But there's still a lot of fun. Like Lake Placid wasn't scary, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. And
you're right, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There can be a lot of like tension in creature features,
and there is, and there is in Lake Placid, and I thought there was tension in this one as well. But just not like you're never actually. I was never actually scared like I was in The Conjuring. You know what I mean?
I 100% know what you mean, and I think that has to do with sometimes when they eventually show you the creature,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like I always find that my imagination is far scarier than when I actually see these things, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, it does. And that's a lot of times when a movie can manipulate your imagination to that degree, they're going to win every time. But in these creature feature type of movies, you almost have to show the monster at some point.
No, you're right. And so they showed the monster, and like seeing the monster didn't generally scare me too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to say about this movie. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head that there were fun parts. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I would recommend it to someone. In my opinion, the movie definitely started off horribly. Now, it did get better, but it started off horribly.
So, wait a minute. If you knew of a friend who likes horror movies, and specifically creature features, you wouldn't say watch this film?
That's why I'm mixed, John. I'm not sure. Like,
let's explore that.
I would recommend other movies before this one. I don't think I would say stay away from this. It was awful. I guess that you brought up in previous movies, I might be more on the indifferent side.
Oh, okay. Really?
So let me start with why this started off horribly. Okay. Did you like the opening?
Well, just tell me why first.
Okay. So this young couple are camping in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Someone starts to slowly unzip their tent.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a secure area. There's no one around. No way do they just sit there quietly as the tent starts to get slowly unzipped. 99.9% of people would be like, hey, who's there? Get away.
Yep.
Nothing. They sit there quietly. Then something, because as a viewer, you don't know what, something reaches in, grabs the female and starts dragging her out. Again, no yelling, no screaming. Everyone's silent. He's trying to like pull her back in, but he just gets pulled out. The silence in that opening scene, I just found so unrealistic, and it really turned me off the movie right away. And I had a John Hunt moment where if we weren't doing this for the podcast, I would have turned it off.
That's weird. I don't remember there being the silence that you describe.
Yeah, there's no yelling like, "Hey, stop! No, stop! What's going on? Get out of here! Help!"
I remember
like nothing like that.
I remember her screaming and reaching for him and asking for help. I remember that clearly.
Maybe I'm speaking more so to him then.
Ah, yeah. Well, he was kind of a mute goof, but he could have been more. Like, I don't know. I don't want to project again, right? But he was clearly terrified.
Oh, he was terrified, right? Yeah. And I get there's the shock thing, but I just like, you got to agree with me that if you're camping and someone starts to unzip your tent and you know that you're not with anyone else, there's no other people around, you're going to be like, hey, who is that? Get out of here.
No, for sure. I 100% agree with you. However, watching this, that didn't occur to me.
Okay. So that it was in my mind right away. And yeah. So I guess like once you get out of the movie, once you don't enjoy a portion, it gets to be more difficult to get back in. Mm-hmm. And then kind of the follow-up scene, you get introduced to Cooper.
Yeah.
And there's some type of military training exercise, and they eventually find him, but they're really happy with him because what they say, you evaded capture for 23 hours or something like that during the exercise. And then it's the cliche special ops military training thing that you've seen a million times. Okay, now for your last test, shoot this dog.
Yeah. And
I'm like, oh my gosh, we've seen this so many times. Like, is this really the road we're going down?
Okay, to be fair, this is a 2002 movie, so this might have set the standard for the cliche, but it wasn't a cliche when it was filmed. Secondly, I also had a problem with that, and this is why. Special forces teams, they don't want to create, this is what, they always get this wrong. They don't want to create a sociopath, right? Just to kill arbitrarily, you're creating a sociopath, right? So what's a sociopath only concerned about? Themselves, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They want to build, they want guys who work as a team.
Yeah, they want a guy thinking of we and not of me. That's what they want. They want a person that would say, okay, if I sacrifice myself in this moment, my team will get away, and they won't hesitate to do it. So they do not want to build sociopaths. They want to build strong team members. They want people that only think of the team as a whole unit, as brother, as family, as sister, as whatever. They just want that team to be a cohesive unit and to always put the team and the mission above themselves. So I had a huge problem with that. But once again, the first time I watched it, that didn't occur to me. But watching it again for the podcast, I'm like, no, that's not how things are done. Because I know better now. But
exactly. And so, and I get it, right? Like, you don't always pick up on everything the first time you see it, but it's just like those kind of first two scenes, like, really took me out of this movie right away. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a chore to get through. But then, as I've already admitted, it does get better from that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one thing that, like, it made me jump. It was actually a really good jump scare, I thought. The British soldiers, the squad or whatever, get dropped in for this training exercise, and they're kind of all sitting around the campfire talking, and you don't really know what's up. And then that cow drops in the middle of them out of nowhere.
That was great, actually.
That actually, like, it's been a while since I've had like a really, really, really good jump scare like that. But like, I like physically jumped because I just you for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, there's no way you would expect it because it's the long scene of them sitting around talking, and there's no indication at all that anything's coming.
I know, and you know what? You're not going to expect a cow to fall from the sky, anyways. So there's a double non-expectation there.
And so as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's going to be some better things to come here.
Mm-hmm. Well, but here's what, when you watch these shows, like I watched it the first time a long, long time ago, and like I said, I love creature features. I really liked werewolf movies because there's not too many that are done well, right? And they're just hard to do. Actually, they're just really hard to do. So
I think it has to do with the money for special effects and that type of thing. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have so watching it now though, I was like, oh, the Cooper. He's the actor Kevin McKidd. He's from Rome, which I'm a huge ancient Rome nerd, and I love that series. Not a historically accurate series, but it's like.
You just like the setting,
and it's close to historical accuracy, but not quite there. But he was a Roman soldier in that, and he did an amazing job in that show. And he was also in Grey's Anatomy that I don't watch, but my wife does, so I saw him from that.
So you recognized him?
Yeah, I recognized him. And then the one guy, the Special Forces captain, the bad guy that ends up turning later on. He's from Game of Thrones. He's
I knew I recognized him.
He's the guy that lost his fingers, that had his fingers cut off by the king.
Yeah.
And then he was also in Clash of Titans, if you ever watched that show. But yeah, so I was watching it going, oh my god, I know these guys. It was pretty cool. And then the one guy, the good sergeant.
I was just about to speak to him.
Yeah, he's from Event Horizon, which is one of my favorite horror sci-fi movies ever.
So as soon as I saw him and heard him speaking, I was having one of those deja vu moments, or maybe not a deja vu. Maybe that's not the best way to describe it, but it's in my head. I'm like, where do I know this guy from? I know him. And then I couldn't think of it. I didn't want to stop the movie to do an internet search or something like that. I'm like, oh, I'll think of it eventually. And then there's kind of the scene where the squad is attacked, and he just starts yelling, Bruce. Bruce. Then it clicked for me. No idea. You probably didn't watch this show.
No.
He plays Alfred on Gotham.
Oh no, he does. I knew that he did that, but I never.
And then obviously he says Bruce a million times in that show for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. So
it was he was actually one of my favorite parts of that Gotham series, which just ended not too long ago, because he kind of changed the character of Alfred for it. He almost played a very similar character to what he's playing in Dog Soldiers, where he was a retired Special Forces Army guy, instead of an old decrepit butler that you see in most Batman iterations.
Yeah, for sure. No, I knew he was in that, so because I saw that, I did watch that show, but I only watched a few episodes because I got bored of it pretty quick. But that one. Yeah, I do remember him being that. So yeah, that's good that you brought that up. I was like, oh yeah, I do know that one.
But it was just so funny that the scene that made it click was when he's screaming Bruce over and over again. I'm like, and that just spurred the thought in my memory. So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. So you didn't like the rest of the progression though? I thought the progression after that was actually really good.
No, and so that, as I said, I kind of got into it. I dug the camera angles. I love that anytime they were kind of doing a point of view shot from the werewolf, it went to black and white. So I thought that was a kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. So they could see that much better, right? I do have to tell you, these guys are soldiers, and they're trained. And one of the things that you're usually trained in as a soldier is to not stand by an open window. And they stood by open windows all the time. All the time. I'm like, stop standing in front of the open window. You're just waiting for a werewolf to grab you, right? So it's just that really kind of annoyed me after a bit. I'm like, stop standing by the damn open window.
And no, you're right. And so these guys are trained soldiers, and obviously they don't really tell you what level they are, but they seem to be special forces of some type, right?
I think they're just regular army, actually. I think the one guy
for the training exercise are dropped in behind enemy lines type of thing. You wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think you'd do that with just a regular soldier who just finished boot camp or something like that.
Well, they do training games, right? I know. I know that they continue to do training games. So I think they were just army.
Okay.
And Coop was trying to get onto the Special Forces team. It's kind of like when you're in the Navy and you try to get onto the Navy SEALs, right? So you start off as a naval officer.
You would think they'd have some good training.
Yeah, well, they do for sure. And one of them, like the basics are, don't stand in an open doorway because you're silhouetted, and don't stand in front of an open window because you're silhouetted. Like, you just don't do these things, right?
And then the other thing that they don't do is come up with that ridiculous plan that they tried, where it's like one man's going to go outside and be bait and distract them while the other man tries to run out to a car to like drive away and get help, but yet they're like, 50 miles or whatever it was from any type of town. Like, that was a ridiculous plan.
I don't mind that plan because you what do you have? You have that or you have nothing.
No, you're wrong. Here's the plan. They said multiple times they just need to survive to sunrise.
Yeah.
So you take everyone, you barricade yourself in one room, and you wait it out.
Okay, while they were running out of ammo, and then all the meat is in one room.
All the meat's in one room, and you just shoot, and you just wait to shoot until the werewolves finally get themselves into that room.
Yeah, like that. I don't like that plan either.
And you strongly barricate it so that they can only possibly come in one entrance.
At that point, you already know your bullets aren't doing anything.
No. I just don't think that it was possible to think that someone could get to a car, drive whatever it is, the 50 miles or longer, convince people to come from help. Like, how long is that going to take? It's going to be sunrise before you get back.
Well, it depends on where you go, right? So they are Army. All they need to do is get into radio their home base, and they can have a chopper come out. Who knows? Right?
I guess. I just thought the plan was dumb.
It's not the best of plans, but when you have no plans, like, it's a plan. And you got to look at it this way, like 50 miles away, like all they have to do is just drive away from the werewolves, and the werewolves aren't chasing after the car. They're just not, right? So and they wouldn't be able to catch it. So at least if you can get one away, there's a possibility that you could get help.
I didn't even see him bring a radio with him, but maybe he did.
I don't think he did bring a radio with him, but they already knew that the radios weren't working. All I mean is that if you could get far enough away to call his base, there's a possibility that the Army could come back with something faster.
I guess so. And like, even though I didn't like the plan, it did lead to that cool scene where he's kind of in the garage, barn / type of thing, turns on the car, and then you see the one soldier still alive, and like the werewolves kind of like eating him alive. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, he just bit his head off. You remember that? Oh my god.
and so that was a cool visual. That was a cool scene. And so as I said, there were things that I liked as the movie went on. They're just kind of, the start wasn't great, and it did get better, but this isn't a classic or anything. But yeah, I guess it is. It can be a fun movie, especially for people like you who love these creature features.
Yeah, I don't see how it wasn't fun, right? Like, it just if you went into this thinking you're going to take it seriously, then that's a problem, right? Because you're going to get into those issues that you ran into, right? So maybe that could have been my fault to let you know that this is more of a fun film, and then you might have been in a different headspace. But
yeah, and there were fun things, right? Like when they were getting the Sarge drunk to try and like fix his wound.
Yeah.
And what does he say? He's like, "I love you, mate, because I love you, mate." It was like something like that, like some type of like funny rhetoric that someone would say in that state.
Yeah. Or like when the one guy knows he's about to get eaten by the werewolf, and he says, "I hope I give you the diarrhea or the shits or whatever."
Yeah. And so that was funny, and like so there were ridiculous things like that, which were funny. Question I wanted to ask you, and I personally didn't see this coming. Did you see the twist coming? And by twist, I mean the fact that the female character, and I can't remember her name, that they ran into and brought them to the house. Did you see her being involved, being a werewolf herself?
Okay, the first time I saw it, I didn't see her being involved or being a werewolf, but I saw her as someone, not who she's saying she was going to be, or who she was. I found her very suspicious because I'm no expert or anything like that in werewolf lore or whatever, but she was claiming to be some sort of expert in this field, right? She went initially with the first Special Forces team, so she's an expert, right? So it's like, how do you not know that someone injured by a werewolf is going to turn into a werewolf? It's like the basic lore, and then she doesn't tell them about it at all. So I'm like, why isn't she disclosing this to them?
So okay, so that kind of made you think, oh, she might be bad type of thing.
Yeah, there's something she's not telling. I didn't think she was going to be a werewolf for sure. I did not think that.
Well, because how I didn't think when you were a werewolf you can control when you turn.
Well, that's one of those shady lores that gets mixed around all the time. But it's like, so some books or movies that I read, you can change whenever you want, even without a full moon, right? And some of them like you can change whenever you want when there's not a full moon, but you have to change on the full moon. And then there's some that, if you change too often, you can get stuck in your wolf form. Like, there's so many different types of lore for it, but the one that doesn't change ever, the one that has not changed as far as I know, is that when you're attacked by a werewolf and survive, you will become a werewolf.
Okay, and so the fact that she didn't say that is a big tip that for there's something up with her.
Like, why isn't she disclosing this? Like, she's sitting in the room with two
why is she
helping
them in the first place?
Like, why did she stop and pick them up?
Yeah, and like, why is she even pretending? Why doesn't she just help them like get killed right away?
Okay, so that was a little bit confusing. It sounded like she was trying to choose another pack.
Yeah, like it almost seemed like she was like falling for that Cooper character.
Yeah, so she's trying to shoot. So her plan would have been to change him and some of the other soldiers into werewolves, and they'd all be a pack together. That's the idea that I got from her, that she wanted him to be part.
I didn't think that was clearly explained, though, or did I just miss that?
It wasn't clear. But to me, what everything led up to and what she actually said, that's the impression I got. But it wasn't like a defined, mastermind plan speech, right? But it was like she said something along the lines of like, I chose you. So
and I remember that, and I thought it was like a love interest thing. I wasn't entirely sure, but what you're saying makes sense as far as why she just didn't let them be slaughtered right away.
Mm-hmm. And she could have. She definitely had the opportunity, and she could have been one doing the slaughtering for half of it, right? So
yeah, no, you're right. And so that makes some sense, and I'm glad that I wasn't alone, that I didn't fully see this twist coming, because it really kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Mm-hmm. Explosion at the end, that was pretty cool.
I don't know. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing for me, or I don't know. But I had a lot of fun with this movie, man. Like, it's like I said, you don't see this too often, right? Like you had a whole group of werewolves. I thought that you don't see the change, right? Which is I guess that's probably the hardest part to do on camera. Yeah, to do on camera. But I thought they did the creatures very well. They were tall and imposing, and the way their legs moved. Like, I thought that was done very well. I thought the special effects, like when you saw them, like the head getting bitten off, and then the guy's guts hanging out. Remember, I'm just gonna put your guts back in. They don't fit, right? Like that stuff. I thought it was all well done, and it was like, for me, it was fun to watch. Like, I didn't have any real issues with it, other than the small stuff that you have. And this wasn't a horror comedy per se, so you're not gonna give it as much breaks as you would other horror comedies for that reason. But
yeah.
That being said, it was still a lot of fun. Like, I had a good time watching it for sure.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. However, one thing we didn't bring up, the very end. Mm-hmm. His entire squad has been slaughtered. Cooper's the only one left, and he brings the werewolf's dog with him at the end.
Man, I don't have
should there be some hard feelings there, being like, screw you, dog, I'm out of here.
Would you punish a child for what a parent does?
Okay, well, that's... I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, man, and this guy loves dogs.
Yeah, they did cement that early on, you're right.
So I have no issue with that. No issue. Of course you would. I'd always save a dog and a child. Like, that's just the way it is. Maybe not so much a cat. Sorry, people, but that's not true. I like cats too, but I have a cat as well. But
okay, so yeah, I guess I just, like, at the end, I'm like, you're now going to take care of your attempted murderer's pet.
Well, it's different if the dog was attacking you, right?
Yeah.
It's different, like, but if it's a dog that's, could potentially get exploded in your plan, I'm not gonna kill a dog for no reason. Just not doing it.
And that dog did have a funny scene, kind of like when the werewolves gained access to the house.
Yeah.
And then it's like the werewolf and the dog are face to face, and it's something that you see all the time with like a big dog and little dog.
Yeah.
And it's just like the werewolf is so much bigger than this dog, but this dog is still like growling and
barks at him.
Like,
yeah.
I chuckled at that.
Yeah, I know, it was good. I like this. I thought it was good. I thought it was a fun movie, man.
Critics liked it. 77 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
Audience score 79.
Oh, there you go.
So pretty close, right in line. Is that where you are? Are you high 70s?
I'm an 80. I'm a straight on 80. That's it.
And you know what? I'm going to be a little bit lower. Like, I'm probably at least 10 points lower, like maybe high 60s.
Yeah, so, I figured you would be.
Still a thumbs up, but like, as I said, more indifferent than anything.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be knocking down people's doors to be like, you got to watch this, but also probably wouldn't stop someone from watching it either.
Mm-hmm.
Box office, I was surprised when I saw this. Made for 2.3.
Yeah.
Because again, it did have some decent special effects. Made 5. Currently streaming on Shudder, our favorite service.
Yeah.
So, if you guys have Shudder and you like creature features like John, check it out. Maybe you'll see what I had a problem with, but then you'll also see the facts, the things that we really did like.
Yeah, like if you like creature features, you really can't go wrong with this one. I don't think so, anyways. I don't think it's like the best creature feature. I wouldn't consider Jaws a creature feature, but it must be, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It does, but so Jaws would be obviously my number one creature feature. But
because in Jaws they do such a great job of not showing you the shark, and as I kind of said earlier, my imagination is always much scarier than when you actually see it.
Well, Jaws is so good. There's so many reasons why it's so good, but it's so good because it's almost like a drama horror, and even though it's not realistic, it just feels realistic. So it's such a good job. And Quint, man, he's so good. But anyways, that's another day. That's another day.
Yeah, one thing I found about this movie, which I thought was kind of cool. Well, I don't know if cool is the right word, just interesting. That the first draft of this script was written in '96.
Oh.
And it took 6 years.
Yeah. To
go through appropriate rewrites and to acquire financing.
Oh wow!
So for anyone out there who wants to be a film writer, a producer, a director, just a filmmaker in general, it is a grind.
No, for sure.
I just thought that was interesting, and then this movie did have some success, as I said, like made a bit of money, some good reviews, and so for a long time there were talks about a sequel. Yeah, and they even had a title. Do you know what the title is?
No.
Dog Soldiers, Fresh Meat.
Of course it'd be that.
As soon as I read that title, I'm like, that's awesome. It made me laugh so hard. But it was actually, they had plans. They were hoping to turn this into a trilogy and then actually do a prequel as well. So they had I guess they had kind of like skeleton scripts, or maybe they didn't have full scripts ready for everything, but it just kind of never came together. The financing never came together, and then it ended up not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so it always could, but we're going on now. When did this come out again? 2002. So 18 years later.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be a thing.
I would say not. Unless it picks up, unless it gets like a lot of streaming hits on Shudder, but who knows?
And then Shudder produces it. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, no, those are kind of some of the facts I had here. Really, anything else to add, John?
No, I think we covered it all.
Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram @DamnMovies. We want to hear what you thought of today's episode and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first 2 novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers. You can also order his novella Balance, his book of short stories, 4 Shots of Horror, and his newest novel, Off the Grid, all available right now on Amazon. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, everyone. Thanks for being here. Have a great week. Stay safe. Be kind to everyone. Oh, and a little bit of news. Dollhouse has been selected for Amazon Prime Reading. So, and I could see it's kind of climbing up there a bit, and my other books are climbing up as a result as well. So that's great, and I hope to hear from you guys if you've read it. Thank you.